My beloved child, there is a reason this moment feels different from all the moments that came before it. If something inside you led you here, even when you could not explain why, do not ignore that feeling now. Pay attention to it. Something quiet has already begun moving around your future, and although you cannot fully see it yet, its presence is real. Before this day began, before you arrived at this exact moment, a thought about you entered someone's heart with unusual strength. It was not a casual thought. It was not temporary. It was not the kind of feeling that appears for a moment and disappears just as quickly. It remained. It returned again and again. With every return, it became deeper. Even now, while you are listening, that feeling continues to grow somewhere beyond your sight. Stay with this message because something important is unfolding. There is a person who has reached a place where imagining tomorrow no longer feels complete unless you somehow exist within it. What surprises them most is how suddenly this realization became impossible to deny. At first, they convinced themselves that it was only curiosity. Then they believed it was simple admiration. After that, they told themselves they were merely noticing small details about you. But eventually, the truth became difficult to avoid. Every small detail about you started carrying greater meaning in their mind. The way you speak, the way you pause before answering, the way your presence leaves something behind, even long after you are gone. None of these things left them unchanged, and what you may not realize is that one specific moment altered everything for them. It may have seemed ordinary to you. You may not even remember it clearly. Yet in their memory, that moment became unforgettable. Something you said, something you did, or perhaps even a silence you carried, caused them to stop and reflect in a way they never expected. Since then, they have quietly compared many ordinary days to that single moment. Remain here, because what is hidden beneath these feelings matters more than you think. They are no longer simply wondering how you are doing. They have started wondering what life might look like if your path and their path moved in the same direction. This thought did not arrive easily. It came after hesitation. It came after many private questions. It came after trying to dismiss what they were feeling. It came after repeatedly telling themselves to slow down and remain realistic. Yet instead of fading, the feeling only became clearer. And this is what makes the situation unusual. They are not thinking only with emotion. They are thinking seriously, quietly, carefully. They have noticed that your presence creates peace in places where they usually experience restlessness. They have realized that even small memories connected to you seem brighter than many significant moments from their past. Do not leave now, because this part matters. Some people enter another person's life for only a season. Others become a memory. But very rarely, someone enters a person's awareness so deeply that future decisions begin changing before anything has even been spoken aloud. You are becoming that rare presence in someone's heart. That is why they have become quieter during certain moments. Inside that silence, they are measuring possibilities. They are considering futures they never expected to consider so soon. They keep returning to the same thoughts. They wonder whether this connection could be real. They wonder whether you might be someone permanent rather than temporary. They wonder whether this feeling arrived for a reason. Although they have not expressed these thoughts openly, their actions have already started revealing them. Perhaps they search for your presence more often. Perhaps they remember details that even you forgot sharing. Perhaps they revisit conversations with you long after those conversations have ended. None of this is accidental. Something within them has started attaching meaning to you. The reason this feeling continues growing is because they sense something rare within your presence. It is difficult for them to describe, yet it is impossible for them to ignore. They sense calm where they expected noise. They sense sincerity in a world that often feels uncertain. They sense depth instead of surface. And this matters. What they feel is not built only upon attraction. It is built upon something much deeper. It is built upon what they believe could survive changing moods, difficult seasons, and the passing excitement that often fades with time. That is why thoughts about a future appeared much sooner than expected. Sometimes the heart recognizes stability long before the mind can explain it. Even now, while they may still appear uncertain on the outside, they are closer to clarity than you realize. There is also something they have not shared with anyone. Many times, they have imagined speaking honestly to you. Many times, they have imagined revealing everything. But whenever they imagine that conversation, they hesitate. They question the timing. They wonder whether they should speak now. They wonder whether they should wait. They wonder whether they should protect these feelings until they understand them more fully. This hesitation is not weakness. It is evidence that what they feel has become important enough to fear mishandling. Stay, because the next truth explains why these feelings became impossible for them to ignore. Recently, something happened that strengthened their certainty. Perhaps there was distance. Perhaps there was silence. Perhaps there was a period without hearing from you. Perhaps there was a brief absence. Whatever happened, during that quiet space they discovered something unexpected. Your absence spoke loudly. Sometimes people only recognize value when silence suddenly appears. That silence revealed that your presence had already become meaningful. This realization unsettled them. What once felt simple no longer feels simple. Now these feelings carry weight. Now they carry possibility. Once possibility enters the heart, the future no longer remains abstract. It becomes personal. This is why thoughts about building something real have appeared sooner than either of you expected. Not because every answer already exists, not because everything has been decided, but because something inside them no longer wishes to treat this connection lightly. Remain here, because what follows reaches even deeper. Behind the silence, far more is unfolding than what appears on the surface. While you continue wondering who might be thinking about you this deeply, someone has already begun changing the way they imagine their own future because your presence entered it. There are thoughts they never expected to repeat. Yet those thoughts now return during unexpected moments. A simple task becomes interrupted because your memory suddenly appears. A quiet evening becomes longer because something connected to you enters their mind without warning. Even when they try focusing elsewhere, they find themselves returning to the same question. Why does this feel different from everything before? The truth is that they have tried to explain these feelings logically. They have searched for reasons. They have analyzed every possibility. Yet not every important feeling arrives with a clear explanation. Some feelings arrive with certainty first. Understanding comes later. That is exactly what happened here. Initially, they believed this was temporary attention. Then they noticed something significant. The feeling remained during difficult days. It remained during distractions. It remained during distance. It remained despite time. That persistence revealed something important. What they feel carries depth. What strengthens these feelings even more is a silent question that now follows many of their thoughts about the future. Would life still feel complete without you being part of it? That question refuses to disappear. And recently, they recognized something in you that reached far beyond appearance, conversation, or ordinary interest. They noticed the way you move through uncertainty. They noticed the strength you carry quietly. They noticed that even when you speak very little, there is something steady about your presence. That steadiness remained with them. Long after conversations ended, it remained. Long after distractions appeared, it remained. Long after they tried to move their attention elsewhere, it remained. Now a new understanding has formed inside them. This is no longer a passing thought. It is no longer simple curiosity. It is no longer a temporary fascination. It has become something they revisit carefully, thoughtfully, and sincerely. For the first time in a long time, they are allowing themselves to imagine a future that includes another person in a meaningful way. And somehow, every road they imagine seems to bring them back to you. That realization has changed them more than they expected. Because once someone begins seeing another person as part of their future, everything changes. Choices change. Priorities change. Dreams begin adjusting. Even fears begin changing. And although they may still move cautiously, their heart has already traveled much farther than their words have revealed. The truth is that this connection has already left an imprint upon them. Whether they fully understand it or not, they know something important has happened. Something meaningful has begun. And while the future has not yet been written, one thing has become increasingly difficult for them to deny. Your presence matters. It matters more than they expected. It matters more than they planned. And every passing day makes that truth harder for them to ignore. So if you have felt that something unusual has been happening beneath the surface, trust that feeling. Not every connection arrives loudly. Some arrive quietly. Some grow in silence. Some begin long before words are spoken. And sometimes, the deepest feelings are the ones that take the longest to reveal themselves. What is unfolding now may still be hidden, but it is no longer small. It is growing. It is deepening. And somewhere, beyond what you can currently see, someone is beginning to understand that life no longer feels quite the same without you in it. Perhaps this connection entered their life for a reason they should no longer ignore. That possibility has become impossible for them to dismiss. It is the reason they have started taking these feelings more seriously. A quiet transformation is happening inside them. They are no longer wondering whether you are memorable. They already know that you are. That question has already been answered. Now a different question occupies their mind. They are asking themselves whether they are ready to move closer to what they feel before too much time passes. Stay with this message because very few people truly understand the importance of this stage. This is the stage where someone begins protecting a feeling before revealing it. This is why their words may still sound ordinary, while their heart grows louder every day. They may speak calmly. But afterwards they replay every conversation, they remember every detail, they analyze every moment. They may appear patient on the outside, yet inwardly they are watching carefully for every sign. They may remain silent, but silence should never be mistaken for absence of feeling. Sometimes silence simply means the heart has become cautious. Sometimes silence means emotions have grown important enough to handle carefully. There is another reason why thoughts about the future arrived sooner than expected. They have already seen enough to believe that you are not an ordinary chapter in their story. Not because everything is perfect, not because every answer is clear, not because all uncertainty has disappeared, but because something about you continues creating emotional certainty in a world where certainty is rare. Remain here because what follows matters. They have imagined what might happen if someone else reached your heart before they found the courage to speak. That possibility unsettled them more deeply than they expected. It revealed something important. The thought of losing the possibility of you feels heavier than they ever intended to admit. That realization became impossible to ignore. Because of this, they have started noticing even the smallest details more intensely. They notice changes in your tone. They notice shifts in your attention. They wonder whether your silence means distance. They wonder whether your smile hides something unspoken. When someone begins imagining a future, even the smallest signals begin carrying meaning. What is surprising is that they may not even realize how visible these feelings have become. There are moments when hearing from you leaves them unexpectedly thoughtful. There are moments when your smallest response influences their mood far more than it should. There are moments when one brief interaction remains with them for hours, sometimes for entire days. That does not happen without reason. The heart does not return to someone's presence this often without deeper meaning. There is something else they have not fully admitted, even to themselves. They trust what they feel around you more than they trust many words they hear from others. That trust formed quietly. It formed gradually. It formed through experience rather than promises. They notice that your presence does not create confusion within them. Instead, it creates attention. It creates calm. It creates a quiet desire to discover what comes next. That desire is why they are no longer seeing you only through the present moment. They are beginning to think beyond today, beyond ordinary conversations, beyond passing contact. They have started wondering what remains if time continues moving and these feelings continue growing. Stay, because the answer to that question is exactly what they are slowly approaching. The reason thoughts about the future have become stronger is because something inside them believes your arrival happened at exactly the right moment. A moment when they were finally ready to experience life differently. Before meeting you, they may have ignored feelings like this. Before this, they may have walked away from possibilities too quickly. Before this, they may have protected themselves so carefully that nothing meaningful could fully enter. But now, something has changed. Instead of stepping away, they have chosen to remain still. They are allowing themselves to watch these feelings unfold. And when someone stops running from emotion, everything begins changing. This is why the next stage may surprise you. Because what has remained silent cannot remain silent forever. Something is moving closer. Something thoughtful. Something sincere. The person thinking this deeply about you is closer to clarity today than they were yesterday. What they are hiding now is no longer confusion. It is a decision quietly forming behind ordinary moments. Every passing day makes it more difficult for them to pretend these feelings remain small. Some emotions can be ignored for a time. Other emotions return stronger every time silence tries to cover them. This has become that kind of feeling. A quiet realization reached them recently. Your presence has begun influencing the way they imagine peace. Not excitement alone, not temporary happiness, but genuine peace. The kind of peace people notice only when someone begins mattering beyond explanation. That realization surprised them. It arrived unexpectedly, perhaps while they were alone, perhaps while remembering a small detail connected to you, perhaps during an ordinary moment that suddenly felt different because your memory appeared without warning. Once that happened, they understood something important. This is no longer only about emotion, it is also about meaning. Stay, because the deeper truth is only now beginning to appear. Their thoughts are becoming more serious because they have quietly tested what life feels like when they try not to think about you. They discovered that it never lasts. Your presence returns. Your words return. Even unfinished conversations return. That repetition has become impossible to dismiss. What surprises them even more is how naturally your image now fits into plans they once kept entirely to themselves. Plans involving time, plans involving stability, plans involving growth, plans involving future direction. This does not happen when someone remains ordinary. It happens when someone begins occupying emotional space that cannot easily be replaced. Remain here, because this next truth explains why their heart is moving faster than their words. They are afraid of timing, but they are even more afraid of waiting too long. Somewhere deep inside, they understand that certain connections become fragile if left untouched for too long. That understanding has made them more alert than before. They pay close attention now. They notice your responses. They notice your energy. They notice when your attention feels warm, They notice when it feels distant. Not because they desire control, but because they are trying to understand whether what they feel inside can eventually become something real outside. While all of this happens quietly, another change is taking place. Hope has entered the place where caution once lived. That is why even the smallest signs from you now feel unusually important. A brief reply, a simple smile, a remembered detail. To someone carrying growing feelings, these moments become powerful. There is one memory they return to more often than they admit. A moment when you were completely natural, completely yourself. A moment when you were not trying to impress anyone. That memory remained with them because it revealed something they value deeply. Authenticity. Authenticity creates connection far faster than perfection ever could. That is why they no longer think only about how you appear. They think about how you make ordinary moments feel different. They think about how simple conversations become meaningful. They think about how your presence changes the atmosphere around them. Most importantly, they think about how life feels when you are part of it. And every time they imagine life without that presence, something feels missing. That feeling has become impossible for them to ignore. It continues growing quietly, steadily, patiently. And somewhere behind the silence, a future they never expected is slowly beginning to take shape. That difference has become increasingly difficult for them to forget. Recently, they noticed something that unsettled them in an unexpected way. Even when they are surrounded by many voices, many responsibilities, and many distractions, one thought connected to you continues rising above all the others. Your presence returns to their mind with surprising strength. This realization shocked them. They never expected your presence to become emotionally stronger over time. They expected it to fade. They expected distance, routine, or daily life to lessen what they felt. Instead, the opposite happened. The feeling deepened. It became steadier. It became more meaningful. Because of that, thoughts about the future no longer feel unrealistic to them. They no longer feel distant or impossible. They feel possible. Stay with this message because this truth matters more than it may seem. The important reason behind their growing desire is not speed, it is recognition. They recognize something rare in the way your presence naturally settles into their heart and mind. There is no struggle. There is no forcing. There is no need for complicated explanations. There is only a quiet certainty that your arrival changed something valuable inside them. Something important shifted. And now they are beginning to wonder whether these feelings should remain hidden much longer. This question returns often. Should they become more open? Should they move closer? Should they reveal what has been growing silently within them? Each time they ask themselves these questions, the answers feel less distant. The hesitation that once existed is slowly losing its strength. Remain here, because the next stage may arrive sooner than either of you expects. There is also something they fear losing. They fear losing the simplicity that currently exists between you. Sometimes, when feelings become deep, people hesitate because they worry about changing something that already feels precious. That is why their silence may appear calm. But beneath that calm surface, everything remains active. Thoughts continue, feelings continue, questions continue, hope continues. Silence cannot contain growing truth forever, especially when every passing day adds new evidence, new memories, new reflections, new emotions, new reasons to care. Even they understand now that what they carry is no longer temporary. Something inside them has already crossed that line. Your name now carries unusual importance. Your energy carries unusual importance. Your presence carries unusual importance. Not occasionally, consistently. And when consistency enters emotion, thoughts about the future begin forming naturally. Very soon, what has remained unspoken may begin appearing through clearer actions. Sincere feelings always search for expression, perhaps through longer conversations, perhaps through stronger attention, perhaps through greater honesty, perhaps through small actions that quietly reveal what words have not yet expressed. Something is moving toward visibility. The person who once questioned what these feelings meant is now slowly reaching a place where the heart no longer wishes to deny what it already knows. The most powerful part of this story is that nothing may appear dramatic on the outside. Everything may still seem ordinary. Yet inside someone's heart, an entire future is already being arranged in quiet detail. The deeper they think, the harder it becomes for them to imagine stepping backward from what they feel. There are moments they never speak about, private moments, unexpected moments, moments when they suddenly stop and wonder why thoughts of you continue returning precisely when they are trying to focus elsewhere. It happens without warning. A familiar memory appears. Something you once said suddenly becomes clear again. A small moment you may have forgotten returns vividly to their mind. Even your silence carries meaning in their thoughts. Stay, because this matters. What surprises them most